Jewish community in India and St. Thomas. Did you know that the history of Jews in India dates back to ancient times? Indian Jews have often said that their ancestors arrived during the time of the biblical kingdom of Israel. During the days of King Solomon, as part of his commercial trade and purposes, he sent his traders to our country. The proof of the early Jewish settlers in India can be found in the edicts of Emperor Ashoka, which was written in the language Aramaic, the language which Jesus spoke. Interestingly, Jewish influence in the culture and language of India are still visible. For example, the Jewish term for city often ends with the alphabets U and R, which appears in the names of many places in Kerala like Kodungalur, Palayur, Malayatur, etc. After Romans conquered Egypt in the 30 BC, there is evidence of about 120 ships sailing every year from Alexandria to the Malabar coast of South India. After Hippalus discovered in AD 45 a fastest route with the help of monsoon winds, the voyage from Alexandria to Malabar coast would take only 40 days. Thus, the number of Jewish traders and settlers in India multiplied. It was perhaps the presence of this Jewish community in India and the frequent and fast voyage to India by Jewish traders that encouraged our St. Thomas to visit India. When Romans became powerful, the number of Jewish traders and settlers coming to our country multiplied. And that was a comforting reason for St. Thomas to visit India. To prove this, various coins of Emperor Augustus and Tiberius of the 1st century AD were unearthed from different parts of our country. After the Pentecost, the apostles began their missionary work, and traditionally it is believed that St. Thomas preached his Christ experience to the Persians and made many followers for Jesus. Historically speaking, early Christians in India had close identity with the Christians in Syria and Persia. St. Thomas and St. Bartholomew came to India after sharing Jesus and the Word of God in the regions of Persia. The liturgy of Mar Adai and Mar Mari has its faith origin in St. Thomas. Mar Adai was the disciple of St. Thomas the Apostle, and Mar Mari was the disciple of Mar Adai. The liturgy of Adai and Mari is the divine liturgy which is used even today and is historically connected to the Church of East of Sasanian. St. Thomas made his first mission journey to India, which could not have been started from Jerusalem. Jerusalem was not a port at that time, and no route started to India from Jerusalem. From Jerusalem, St. Thomas first travelled to Alexandria. Alexandria, the second city of the Roman Empire, the cosmopolitan city, had 40% of the population of Alexandrians were Jews. Alexandria was the greatest port in the world at that time. It is the large presence of Jews in Alexandria that attracted St. Thomas, and thus he came across people from India in Alexandria, and it was then he decided to go to India in one of the ships that sailed to our country. Tradition among the Christians of St. Thomas of Malabar coast about the Apostle Thomas says that he came to India via Socotra, an island in the eastern edge of Africa. This was a regular stop for all traders travelling to India as they waited for suitable wind to travel to India. St. Francis Xavier, 1,000 years later, spoke of the presence of Christians in Socotra. According to him, they claimed to be Christians of St. Thomas. Interestingly, the first visit of St. Thomas to India was not to Kerala or the Malabar coast. It was to Baruch, the Gujarat coast. More about this is in the next episode.